This is our 2022 Lucid Air Grand Touring. It's a member of our long-term fleet that we spent a lot of our own money to acquire. You might be asking why we spent such a hefty chunk of change on this vehicle, and that's because Lucid really made a big splashy debut along with some big promises for the Air. The funny thing is, if you were to actually buy this vehicle today with the exact same options and the exact same features, it would cost you about 10 grand more. And at that price, it basically lines up almost perfectly with this thing. This is the 2023 BMW i7, and it may not seem like a natural competitor for the Lucid Air up front, but these are two big electric sedans and they cost roughly the same amount of money. So putting them head to head and letting you know how far your 150 grand will go if you're looking in this class seems all right to me. Now, Lucid describes the Grand Touring as having relentless range, supercar speed, and lavish luxury. And in our 9 months or so with this vehicle, it's definitely delivered on those first two fronts. But lavish luxury, not so much, and that's where the BMW comes in. When it comes to cabin technology and luxury, the BMW could teach the Lucid a thing or two, or 20. Come on, I'll show you what I mean. But before we do that, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if you're looking to sell your car, head over to edmunds.com/sellmycar for an instant cash offer. We'll kick things off here in the BMW. Now, the i7 is the way that BMW has brought electrification to its flagship sedan. However, unlike the Mercedes, which they did the EQS on an EV dedicated platform, instead underneath, it's pretty much just regular run-of-the-mill 7 Series, just, without a gas engine up front and a big battery mounted right underneath me. And the result is, to me, the best 7 Series that they've ever produced. I've tested out gas versions of this 7 Series, and they can't match the electric version when it comes to smooth power delivery, ride quality, and having a whisper quiet interior. I can talk to you like this. This BMW has a forward-facing camera, but instead of helping out with the safety features like most of them do, this actually reads the road ahead of me, and it ties in with the navigation system to help prepare the vehicle when there are turns or road imperfections ahead. This system combines with the auto-leveling air suspension and the very low center of gravity in this vehicle from that battery to give it some of the best ride quality that I've ever experienced in a vehicle. This thing can't accelerate like the Lucid, but it's got more than enough power for anything you're going to throw at it in daily life, and it accelerates the way that it does really everything else, smoothly. I really enjoy driving this thing. This is my second stint in one of these this year, and whenever I have to go anywhere, I get legitimately excited just because it's such a joy to drive. The BMW comes with a long list of safety features, as does the Lucid, but the BMW does a few things that the Lucid can't, including hands-free driving. So the i7 has an Assist Plus system that works up to 85 miles an hour. It's got a little camera here that keeps track of my eyes, and when I'm on a highway like this, it will take over and I'm able to do hands-free driving. So I just kind of activate that with the system here and put it into Assist Plus mode with that button on the steering wheel. Some green lights appear here to tell me, and then I can take my hands off the wheel and it takes care of everything for me. When our Lucid came to us, it didn't have really fully fleshed out safety features, and some have actually been added by over-the-air updates, including Highway Assist, which combines adaptive cruise control and lane centering, but the Lucid doesn't have a hands-free equivalent, so that gives the edge in this area to the BMW. The Lucid does, though, one thing that the i7 can't, and it's this. 0 to 60 miles an hour passes in just 3.2 seconds in this vehicle, which is a really impressive time. That is, as they claim, supercar speed, and it's much faster than the BMW, which is no slouch itself. It does 4.4 seconds to 60, but still, that's a massive gulf between these two vehicles. And we didn't even get the performance version of the Grand Touring. It's doing all this on some very non-sticky all-season tires. As far as party tricks go, this is a neat one. We've had our share of problems with this vehicle, but its performance and the way it drives has never really been one of them. It rides pretty well, it's very comfortable on its own, but the problem is the BMW is just a step above in both of those things. It's not quite as quiet, it's not quite as composed, and it's definitely worse under braking. To go from 60 miles an hour to 0 takes about 132 feet, and that's almost 30 feet more than the BMW, which actually weighs a little bit more. Now, the performance edge does very clearly go to the Lucid, but for day-to-day driving, I would much prefer the plush comfort of the BMW for any kind of commute or getting around town. I'd also give the Lucid the advantage when it comes to looks, you know, on the exterior at least. It has this sort of like very futuristic styling going on, and up front there's this kind of Cylon-like light bar that comes all the way across the front, and I really enjoy that. The Lucid is also built on a dedicated EV platform, and that gives it some advantages when it comes to cargo room. So the BMW has a 17.7 cubic foot trunk. It's a little bit narrow, and there's no frunk. You can open the hood, but there's no storage space under there. However, in the Lucid, you get a true frunk, and you also get this nice, really wide trunk opening, and that allows you to fit really wide items in the back. Combine these two spaces, and you get 26.1 cubic feet of cargo room, giving the Lucid a big advantage. Moving over to the BMW, things are a lot different. They're a lot busier. Up front, we have this really large kidney grille treatment that BMW has been doing for a while now. I thought I would get used to it. I still haven't. And the funny thing about this car is that these are illuminated. So when you walk up to it with the key in your pocket, they actually light up in like a big neon sign that says, yes, we're here, and yes, we're huge. Also, these wheels, don't really like these either. They're trying way too hard. There's kind of this chrome all the way down the side here. It feels a little bit chintzy, like the car is actually trying too hard. So I guess it's a good thing that you can't see the outside of the car while you're driving it. But as we get here to the driver's door, this is where things really start to turn in the BMW's favor. Automatic doors. That is satisfying. The interior is where the BMW really starts to turn the tide. This cabin is opulent. It's just covered in luxury materials everywhere, and the design and everything just really comes together in a very cohesive fashion. Even these seats, take for example, these are covered in smoke white merino leather, but then these kind of gray inserts down here, those are cashmere, just like the sweater. Everything in the cabin feels intentional, from the materials to all these tiny little design details, like the way that this crystal pattern kind of reflects light here. There is one detail, however, that I'm not a really big fan of, and that's these speaker grates. And they're actually made of metal, so they're kind of sharp. So I actually lost a chunk of my pinky fingernail to this one when I was trying to go for the windows. They probably need to be rounded off a little bit. Because this test vehicle has basically all the options checked, it has a gigantic list of features. Up front here we have two side-by-side screens, one behind the steering wheel and a 14.9-inch screen here that controls the infotainment, and you can either use it by touching it up here or via this controller down in the center console. Though the BMW does have a lot more physical controls than the Lucid does, you're still going to find yourself diving into the screen quite often to find different vehicle functions. For example, that's the only way you can turn on the heated or ventilated seats or change the follow distance for the adaptive cruise control. Powering the system is iDrive 8, and we do like it a lot for the most part, but it just has a lot going on. For example, if I go into the main menu here, just look at all of these icons. This is just a lot to take in, even when I'm sitting still, let alone when you're driving. What helps this system quite a bit is how good the voice commands are. So I know that many people don't really use voice commands that often in their vehicles, and that's usually because those systems aren't very good, but here in the BMW, it's excellent. It's very powerful, and you can use it to do more complicated things than just calling someone or inputting a navigation destination. For example, it can do things like this. Hey BMW, how much range do I have left?
The battery is 73% charged. Under current conditions, your remaining range is 243 miles. Are you interested in ways to increase your range?
No, but thank you. To start with, here in the Lucid, you get a much different setup. It's a lot more screen-based, and there's a lot fewer physical controls. It starts up here with this curved display that starts all the way on the left side of the steering wheel and comes all the way around here to the top touchscreen for the infotainment system. This gauge cluster, it looks nice, but it's not highly customizable at all like the one in the BMW, where you can choose between like 5 or 10 different views to show you whatever different kinds of information. This one is pretty static the way it is. And then down here you have this tablet style touchscreen which controls most of the vehicle's functions. Now this screen can also fold up to reveal a storage space, and this is one area that the Lucid is actually a lot better than the i7. The i7 has nowhere to put anything, and you get a bin here, another bin here, and some decent center console storage as well. Lucid now is a much different vehicle than the one that we picked up in September. When we first got it, the Air had a lot of problems with the multimedia system. It had a lot of bugs and it was very laggy, and we chronicled all those issues in our long-term blog, link in the description. But today, thanks to a series of over-the-air updates, the system boots up a lot faster and it has much fewer issues. It's also added some key features such as highway drive assist, streaming radio, and wireless Apple CarPlay. However, there's still no Android Auto. The BMW, of course, has wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Chalk another one up for the BMW. Now, if we go feature for feature, the front seats of these vehicles have a lot of the same stuff. Both vehicles have heated, ventilated, massaging front seats. They have wireless charging pads. They have power adjustable steering wheels. But that's not to say that the two interiors are equal at all. When you really get down to it, the Lucid just doesn't have the same materials and refinement as what you're going to find in the flagships of a BMW and a Mercedes. That's not to say that this isn't a nice interior, but it's definitely not a six-figure interior, and when you put that big price tag on this vehicle, that's sort of what you expect, and it's disappointing in that way. There's definitely a gap between what we have here in the Lucid and what you get in the BMW, and once you get into the back seats, that gap gets even larger. This is where things really start to slide in the direction of the BMW. Here in the Lucid, we've got a few features in the back, but here in the i7, the cup runneth over. What do we have here? Oh, down here we got a couple USB-C ports. Good. I got a couple USB-C ports right here and two more, one on the back of each seat. Let's see, we've got 4 air vents back here and a nice screen to control the temperature and heated rear seats. We've got 4 air vents and a little screen on either side here that allows me to control the temperature for each rear passenger. I wonder what else these screens can do. I've got a lot of leg room. I got, tons of leg room. Oh my God, these seats recline. We've got recline. There's gotta be something else back here. There's gotta be something else. We've got massage. Oh, we've got this like nice glass roof, which is, perfect when it's summer, July. I've got ambient lighting in the ceiling. Whoa. What does this theater button do? A 31-inch 8K theater screen. It's beautiful. Can you hold this here for me? Right there, perfect. That's cool. Well, the back seat did not go so well for the Lucid, but it does enjoy a big advantage over the BMW when it comes to range. Now, we've put our long-termer on our Edmunds EV real-world range test twice, and it's come with some very impressive results, 425 and then 438 miles respectively. That's a lot more than the BMW, which is no slouch itself. It clocked in at 320 miles. Now, that result for the Lucid was good enough to put it at second place on our leaderboard, right behind another version of the Lucid Air. The only reason that this feels kind of bad for the Lucid, though, is that it's supposed to have an estimated 516 miles of range, but still, those results, very impressive. However, we have noticed a problem with the Lucid's range estimates. So, if you enter a destination into the navigation system, a little pop-up shows you how much range you're supposed to have left when you arrive at that destination. But we've noticed that whenever you do that, you never get there with that amount of range remaining. You can see it kind of slowly creeping off as you drive the car. Even now, when we plug it in and charge it to full, it still tells us we're going to get near 500 miles, but we haven't been able to come close to that. The Lucid can also charge much faster than the BMW. It can take up to 300 kilowatts, while the i7 maxes out at 195. But with most public charging stations topping out at 150 kilowatts, it can be hard to find a place for the Lucid to flex that advantage. At the end of the day, this isn't really a fair fight at all. The BMW i7 comes with an Edmunds rating of 8.4, and that puts it above all the versions of the Mercedes-Benz EQS as well. The Lucid, despite its advantages in range and performance, doesn't hold up all that well. It only gets a 7.8 because of the problems that we've had with the vehicle over the course of our ownership. Yes, the Lucid might be faster, and yes, it might go further, but in pretty much every other way besides the exterior styling, I prefer the BMW. Now, when we bought our Lucid, that was the only version that we could actually get. And now, Lucid actually sells cheaper versions of the Air that do have less power and less range. But with price tags that start under $100,000, it would be competing against a completely different set of vehicles, and some of the Lucid sins might be more forgivable if you're only spending 90 grand versus 150. Thanks for watching. 31-inch 8K theater screen. This is so cool. Do I look comfy here? Do I look natural? Am I flying casual?